Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of StuTube. You guys, Bitcoin has shot up shortly after the weekly open, but honestly, I am just as bearish as I ever would. Sorry for the thumbnail there to trick you a little bit, but I've been being told that I'm a perma bear, so I did want to discuss a few bullish scenarios. But honestly, as we can see, even the price just dumping, I just figured I had to go live here because the market's absolutely dumping here, and I know everybody really wants to see the market pump, and I get that. But you guys, I've been warning here for weeks, actually months now, that the market structure is still not bullish. I know people want to say that there's higher lows being formed, and there's, every time we see some sort of a nice bounce, it's, oh, the bottom is in this, the bottom's in that. You guys, I have been openly bearish pretty much since the beginning of June about this trend, and absolutely nothing has changed. Now, I want to be clear about something. That's not me being stuck in my ways and, refusing to adapt to the market. You guys know I always say it's more important to be able to react than predict. And I know there's a lot of people out there who, once they come to a theory, they will not vary from that. And that's just a thing of being stubborn, not wanting to flip flop. I get it. But there's a time to flip flop your ideas and a time not to. And honestly, this market structure has not changed to me. And I just want to go over some of these setups that we've seen this afternoon since we've topped out. First things first, I just want to make sure that we have good audio visual. You guys can see my charts clearly. You can hear me clearly, hopefully. This is probably only going to be a half-hour stream or so, you guys, but I do have some important things that I want to say here. And obviously, not financial advice. You do your own research, form your own opinions. I'm just telling you how I'm trading the markets, and I'm still trading this market bearishly. And basically, since that pump we had overnight, basically last night, and even overnight, basically into the weekly close and then slightly after it, I will discuss that in a second, why I'm so bearish on the weekly chart still. And as soon as I just get clarification that you guys can in fact hear me, hopefully I'm not talking to myself here. 26 people watching already. And you guys, if you do appreciate these live streams, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe. But yeah, things just not looking great in my opinion. So I am in a short from back here. This is just, there's really nothing too uncalled for here. I mean, I've mentioned on all these streams, I talk about this trading strategy I love is one, I just love pulling Fibonacci's, and specifically when I pull them from these signals with the auto charting tools, with the MDX ALGO indicators. Just look in a trending market like this, how absolutely phenomenally this has called these reversals. You guys know I refer to the 786, 886 fib pocket as the Stuber fib pocket. Even though this was a higher high, it was a pivot point printed by the auto charting tools. Pull my Fibonacci from there, basically chasing the price, and look where we end up eventually pulling back to a 786 reversal and just dumped from there. Then we get our lower high signal. This is the one that actually caught my attention more so, and why I am in a short right now is because we got that lower high signal. I say at every stream that, I like pulling fibs from that if I'm looking for a bearish setup. I'm just chasing the price. Again, here's the pivot point, chasing the price to down here. And when we get back up towards that 786, 886, that was just kind of the area of interest that I had for shorting. And my invalidation was nice and tight, right? Just right around 64K, just above. So nice tight invalidation for the size of move that I was expecting that we could potentially get. And just to show you how accurate this has been today, I mean, before I go into what's all going on here, yeah, it's dumping. We all know it's dumping. But basically when we got this signal printed, came back 786, this signal came back 786. It actually went all the way to a double top, even printed another lower high signal. But either way, the 786, 886 fib strategy, absolutely phenomenal there. And even this one here, we actually got another one. I just didn't want to make my chart too messy. But again, lower high signal, just chasing the price. Look where we end up topping out right at the 786. I'm not sure why it says higher high there, but it doesn't matter. All I know is that we came back up to the 786 and then reversed from there. Um, we got another one here, even off this higher high, higher low signals. So even when we're seeing these bullish signals print and bullish structure forming on the shorter time frames, it's just not holding anymore. And you can see that same thing, right? We just pull that Fibonacci from the higher high swing point down to where it bottomed out, came up to the 786, and that's where we got our hard rejection just a few minutes ago, you guys. So it's in a trending market. That is such a beautiful strategy. It's very simple. It's basically a life hack. Obviously not going to work out every time. Sometimes the signals are printed later and you can't catch it. It is what it is. Sometimes you miss trade setups and sometimes trade setups lose, right? But that's what I love about Fibonacci's is when I take a loss with trading Fibonacci's, there's a very structured level, right? There's no guesswork, just basically, am I going to win or am I going to lose? And at least if I lose on those positions, at least it's going to be in a controlled way, and it's just going to be a small loss, right? But yeah, so far this trend just continuing down to the downside. Let me go over now why on a longer time frame, why I am still so bearish and why I've only taken profits on about 20% of this position so far. I'm leaving most of it run for now. I actually should probably take, you know what? I am actually going to close 25% of what I have running right now, just because I'm going to get sidetracked with the stream here and stuff. Either way, I still have 60% of my position running here because I think the longer time frames, to put it nicely, look like shit. I'm looking at the 4-hour chart here. Guys, every bearish swing that we've had so far since the market topped out at our all-time highs, we've had the exact same swing to the bearish side 3 times now. Right? We have our break of structure, and I know this is repetitive for those of you who are in all my streams, but it's very important. And I just want to clarify that nothing has changed. Okay. A lot of people are flip-flopping their bias. The thing is, yes, there's structure on shorter time frames changing, but on the macro time frame, this has been basically since we bottomed out at 49K back at the start of August. We've been in the same range ever since. Nothing has changed on that macro range. That is not personal opinion. That is not just me having a bearish bias. This is a series of lower lows and lower highs. And that hasn't changed yet because we haven't broke out of that range. This lower high was never broke. This lower low was never broke. So nothing changes with my fibs. But we have the exact same thing setting up. Now we even lost this trend line here, and you can see that we basically came back up to it, tested it, got rejected. I personally thought we were going to go a little higher, even though I was really bearish with the weekly close last night, which I'm also going to go over in a second. I was quite bearish with the weekly close, but I was very open to the idea of going to the upside a little bit first. One, that trend line that has so far flipped support into resistance. And two, we have a couple Stuber fibs there, right? If I just pull from where this rally has, just the smaller range inside the bigger range, where we've topped out so far, that was right around 66.5K approximately. If I pull a Fibonacci, well, you can see I have it pulled here. If I pull from that top to where we have our local bottom here, we do have our 786, 886 a little bit higher, kind of that 65 to 65.7K. And on top of that, you guys, is we still have that macro Stuber fib. We barely got above the 786. The last 2 swings, we at least hit the 886. This rally got shut down a little bit quicker. It got shut down halfway into the box rather than the full way this time. So I'm looking at it as, hey, we actually have some additional weakness here. Another thing that I've talked about on many of my streams is this liquidations MDX algo indicator. It will basically, I'm going to point out where the high leverage liquidation levels are, and look at this, you guys. I just brought this up right before streaming, and I had mentioned to a few people that, hey, I actually just got even more bearish. So if you're wondering what the heck I was talking about, this is it. Yes, obviously this does not have to happen, but look at all these high leverage liquidations to the downside compared to the upside. I've showed this on every swing that we've done so far. And yeah, okay, a lot of this liquidity has disappeared. But on the swings, I was showing it in all my streams that, we just end up like a vacuum or like a magnet. We just see on the downside here, we got rejected. We came down, we grabbed all this liquidity, basically just missed the last little bit there, but then reversed because we had a whole bunch of liquidity to the upside here. Now what's happening? We have a whole bunch to the downside again. And then just to pull a couple of Fibonacci's here, let's just remove all my drawings here and let's pull a couple of Fibonacci's. One, I know a lot of people are saying this is a higher low, whatever, sure, but on the macro range, I already showed why I don't consider it a higher low yet, because we haven't broke out of that range. On the smaller ranges though, just in case this is going to act as a higher low, pull a Fibonacci from there. And where does our 786, 886 land? I mean, that would basically grab all this liquidity to the downside, liquidate all those high leverage longs that are FOMOing into resistance again, as again, we lost structure. Now FOMOing into this resistance with the longs, and we're seeing those liquidations build to the downside, just basically past the 886 a little bit. So yeah, in that case, there is liquidations right down to around 54, 53.5K. I think that makes a lot of sense that we would go down there. And honestly, if I'm looking at the full range, again, I'm saying this is a smaller range inside the bigger range. The full on range, if I pull this fib from the 49K bottom to where we've topped out so far, this entire upswing, you can see most of those liquidations end just above the 786, which is currently at about 52.7K, and the 886 would be around 51K. But yeah, honestly, the fact that we keep breaking structure to the downside, and I know it feels like we're not because this has taken so long to play out, but guys, this started, when's this first lower low? That was the very beginning of May. But we topped out, and what was that? Yeah, back in March is where we actually had a smaller structure break, but I just don't want to overcomplicate it. This is the very obvious one. And so all the way back to the start of May, we just keep break that lower low, get that rally, lower low, rally, lower low, rally. I mean, that obviously trends break eventually. We do not have to set a lower low, but so far that has been the trend. And if we do end up setting another lower low in this case, there could be a lot of panic setting into the market because wars are escalating. People are just going to lose faith if we start breaking those structure levels, call it a black swan event, whatever. I know everyone wants to think that, hey, BlackRock is going to pump our bags and they're going to FOMO into all-time highs. That's maybe they will. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. All I know is that, I don't think that smart money made their billions by FOMOing into cycle tops and pumping other people's bags. I think if anything, it makes sense that, the sooner we actually get a big capitulation and they can fill their bags the way they want to at the prices they want to, then it's more likely that we reverse from there. But I mean, we're going to have to see what happens. Obviously, like I said, trends change, trends break. If we break out of this, that's the thing, guys. If we set another higher high above this, yes, we haven't quite broken above the macro high yet. But if we get something like that, I would at least be open to the idea that something bullish has happened. As it stands right now, I just feel like we lost this trend inside the trend of the smaller range inside the bigger range. So I don't think that looks good. On top of that, you guys, the weekly, I can't get over this weekly chart. This is the one that's been keeping me bearish since June, basically, but this is currently an active Stuber fib pull right now. Because this red line here, that's where we lost our low. Yes, it's just a wick. That's fine. On a weekly chart, I'm going to take it for what it is. That is a lower low that was set, pulling the fib from the highest point between the two down to our bottom, from the highest point between the two down to our bottom. We got our candle closes right below the 786, right around the 786. And then, when last week's candle opened, it didn't even try and go back into that box. It just went straight down. And then, we get this, I'm going to say that's a terrible looking close. If that was a 5-minute chart or a 1-minute chart, I'd be shorting the shit out of it. And that's what makes me feel bearish on the weekly chart right now. I don't typically short the weekly chart. However, I'm open to the idea of trying to catch a runner to the downside more so than the upside. I don't have FOMO to the long side right now, you guys. I haven't since June, because until we break some structure, and you know what? Yes, if we break that structure, then I'm okay to change my opinion at that point. But I'm not changing my opinion until the chart changes, because I'm not going to trade based on what I think might happen. You know, yes, we might break resistance and moon this time. Yeah, we might. But that's exactly how everybody felt every other time we came up to resistance, is, well, what if we break resistance? Yeah, but we didn't. From a risk tolerance point of view, it's better to be shorting or selling into resistance and buying and longing into support. So as it stands right now, this is just looking like resistance to me. And not only that, when this weekly candle opened, I thought we would get some sort of a pump either right before the weekly close or right after the weekly open. And yeah, we did start pumping overnight, but look, we didn't even reclaim this whole candle. We went approximately halfway up, 2/3 of the way up. And that's totally normal. If that was any other time frame, try to treat the weekly time frame like any other time frame. I know people hate waiting and feel like it shouldn't work that way. But if this was a 1-minute chart, 5-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, anything, and you just had a wick into the previous candle, it would be weird to not, basically. Almost every candle retests quite a ways into the previous candle. So to see that at the start of this week, that makes perfect sense to me. But the fact that we, just came up, here's the thing, guys, this weekly candle has 6 days left. Everything I'm talking about can very easily be invalidated in 6 days. If we get a big bullish engulfing candle that's going to, moon us above this Stuber fib box, for example, at that point, yeah, I would be much more open to the idea of being bullish at that point. But as it stands right now, it just looks like every time I look at the longer time frames, I see weakness. I just can't shake that feeling. Just to go back to the shorter time frame here real quick, I want to set another Fibonacci off this lower high signal here, just as a potential rejection zone. Something like that. This is getting quite volatile though, you guys. One thing I want to touch on when it gets very volatile like this, understand that it's a lot safer to downsize your positions or use lower leverage and stuff like that, because, considering me entering a short up here with invalidation up here compared to entering a short here with invalidation way up here, that's a significantly larger loss. And I'm not going, if I were to enter a scalp on that sort of thing, I'm obviously going to use lower leverage or just make a smaller position and kind of ladder on the way up so I don't get liquidated or whatever. But to each their own. Just be cautious that things are very volatile right now. I'm happy I'm in a nice running position at this point, because that takes a lot of stress out of the game right now, because it can get hard to get into a position when things get this volatile. And honestly, that's why I love using these auto charting tools as well, as it just gives me a little additional confidence, because there's no room for interpretation. Then it's, for one, I would already be looking at that level as a obvious pivot point, but then to see the indicator printed as well, that's a big reason why I love using that. I also want to check what the ALGO master indicator is saying. Yeah, so that's another thing that I love to see for my short position right now is, I talk about this quite often, is the sell signals are trending to the downside, and as well the buy signals are trending to the downside. So just a little additional confluence there when I'm looking for which way I should be trading the market and whatnot. Obviously, that was going to be a thing after that deep plunge to the downside, right? But just look at how beautifully that called that there was some downside price action coming. So absolutely beautiful there. If these indicators do interest you, you guys, there is a link down below as well that gives an additional 10% discount on top of current promotions at checkout. I use these indicators every single day. I've been using them for a year or two now at this point. The only other indicator I really use is the RSI at this point because I have very specific things I look at it for. But yeah, absolutely love how much customization there is with them and how you can come up with your own strategies. You can adjust sensitivity on them, just beautiful colors, just everything about these indicators. Absolutely love them. And like I said, today, these lower high, well, basically all these pivot points with the auto charting tools have just been phenomenal setups to the downside. Like I said, we had that first one, second one, third one. This one's iffy, but may have even happened. Yeah, even that would have worked out as long as he didn't have too tight of a stop. That one would have technically played out. This one as well. Beautiful 786 entry there as well. So, man, just absolute money maker today in these kinds of conditions when it starts trending like this. And it's super simple, right? Very easy life hack. But again, not every trade setup's going to work every time. And obviously, if you're putting any real money behind any sort of trade setups, make sure you do some back testing, right? Because everybody looks at the market different. Everybody has their own strategies, their own time frames they like trading. That's another thing. Obviously, not everyone's into trading the 1 minute or the 5 minute like I am, right? But obviously, I look at the same strategies for longer time frames and stuff, and especially when it comes to market structure and stuff. I'm still very open to looking at longer time frames, obviously, just to get a general bias, and why I'm open to the idea, right? While everybody's becoming moon boys again at the start of the weekly open there, and just thinking once again that all-time highs are around the corner, just like every time we come up to that 786 fib. A lot of people are getting wrecked in that case, and just having the confidence to trade the downside and not having that FOMO feeling is a real game changer. Honestly, being bearish on the market, not even just bearish because I'm cautiously bearish. I am open to the idea of going higher. I want to be very clear about that. I still have most of my spot positions. I only sold a very small amount of my spot positions when we were up around 69K. I'm just more so trading with leverage the downside. I'm very bullish on crypto as a whole. Okay. I'm not a perma bear, I promise. But I'm just favoring one side that I trade with leverage right now. That's a very different approach than, as far as spot trading. Yeah, buying the dip is great and everything, but I'm looking at it as wanting to make money in the market right now, whether it's going up or down. And since I'm favoring the downside as far as the charts look to me right now, then I can just, as a hedge against my portfolio, I can be shorting on the way down, right? The spot bags and the portfolio might not enjoy this kind of price action, but the trade account loves it because it's volatile. I don't care if it's going down. Now that I'm done getting most of my rants out of the way, I do want to bring up some tunes once again. And as always, let me know if they're too loud, if they're annoying, whatever. But let's bring up a little bit of tunage and I can catch up on the chat here a little bit. Most importantly, you guys, how are you all doing? And how are you feeling about the market? Do you think I'm way out to lunch thinking it's possible we go down much lower? Are you also bearish? How do you feel? Oh, notice we got a lower low signal print. So just another reason why. I mean, that's obvious because we said a lower low. But yeah, nice to see when the indicator starts trending those signals. Hurley's buying the dip. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice dip to be buying, right? I personally think I'm happy to be wrong on this theory, but I have a feeling that there is going to be a much, much larger dip. And as we were saying in the group earlier, I think a lot of people are going to need a hug soon. happy to be invalidated, right? Like I said, we break that macro Stuber fib, we break that macro lower high, and I think from there, I am open to the idea of, hey, yes, the election and everything involved is going to affect the prices of things, and yes, that maybe that will pump the market at that point. But the thing with fundamentals is they don't matter until the chart backs up that theory, right? And as it stands right now, we don't know when those fundamentals kick in. If you're trying to short if you're trying to trade a 1 minute chart based on fundamentals over a several month event, good luck. The charts are, if you want to actually be trading, in my opinion, the charts, I guess everyone has their own thing, right? I do know some people who trade news well and fundamentals well. I personally get wrecked when I try it. So I just think that it's way easier to analyze, just less likely to make mistakes by looking at a few colorful lines and Fibonacci pulls rather than trying to understand the entire global economy. I've been trying to move to the 12-hour mainly to trade. Yeah, and that's the thing, obviously, with the trend type of a thing. I'm personally uncomfortable trading longer time frames, and honestly, most people should trade longer time frames rather than the shorter. But I am more comfortable just getting into a position and knowing very quickly if it's going for me or against me. Honestly, when I trade longer time frames, also, I'm more likely to FOMO into a position at the wrong time because I might, if I think that I missed my entry, if I saw something late or whatever. But when I'm on a shorter time frame, I'm more willing to just wait for the next ideal setup because I know there's going to be one eventually, right? Without having to wait weeks. Technically, where am I buying puts? As in, I mean, I'm not buying puts, but if I were to short, it totally, that's a tough one to answer because I don't know anything about your trading style, the time frames you're trading, how long you're planning to hold your position open. Because the thing is, when I'm entering a position on the 1 minute, there's a good chance I'm out of a good chunk of my position within 10 minutes. Really even 5 sometimes when they really just react to my fib levels, kind of a thing. Quite often within 5 to 10 minutes, I'm already out of part of my position. So if I was, it totally depends what kind of, I mean, what your risk tolerance is. There's so many factors. I don't know enough about it of your trading style for where I would do it if I was you. I myself, like I said, this yellow box is interesting for me for shorts on the 1 minute. I would consider opening another one on a different account. I really want to leave this one run. But I have several accounts, so I wouldn't mind scalping another type of a setup. But yeah, basically, like I said, since we have this lower high signal printed on the auto charting tools, pulled a Fibonacci from there down to where we bottomed, and that would be my 786, 886. So basically, when I take those positions, I like to ladder in. I just want to have a high leverage trade in and hold it with as much money as possible in it. Yeah, don't we all? Like, I use higher leverage than anybody should. Like, I usually trade 69x leverage, but that's obviously, you know, I understand where my liquidation points are, where my stop loss is. Basically, anytime you enter a position, always know what's worst case scenario. How much can I lose on this? But I don't mind Obviously, just if I'm using higher leverage like that, if I'm using 5x leverage, I'm going to be using way more, tying up way more margin than if I'm using 69x. And since I trade the 1 minute, my invalidations are always so close that I just like using small amounts of margin on higher leverage. A 100x cross at 61.6. I personally think we go lower. I don't know. I really have a feeling that we are going to target this 53.5K. But like I said, even a conservative target, just because I find so often we come down to the 786s, even just going for the smaller fib pull here. I'm thinking 55.5. And honestly, I'm not going to be flipping bullish when we hit that level. Don't get me wrong. I would be open to the idea if a shorter time frame breaks like a lower high structure at that point. Yes, I'll absolutely start looking for long setups. The thing is, like I said at the start of the video, we just have this series of lower high structure break confirms, or then another lower low, lower high confirmed, lower low, lower high confirmed. We haven't set a new lower low yet, so we haven't actually confirmed a lower high. But as it stands, just so far, every time we break that structure to the downside, we come respect the 786, 886 and get rejected. And that's exactly what happened so far. I just can't shake this feeling that we just still have the same trend going, because that's the third time we've had the exact same setup. But I mean, that's not to say there's no long opportunities, right? I mean, I trade the market both directions. That's totally fine. And that's the thing, right? Even though I'm going to be quite bearish, even as we approach support, support is support until it's broken. So yeah, the smarter play, I will be looking to be scaling out of my shorts when I get down towards those support levels. And as well, I'll be considering, I'll at the very least, I'll be considering doing some sort of a hedge long if we get there, just in case the market reverses, right? Because the market doesn't give a shit what I think. It's going to do what it's going to do. And as traders, we need to protect ourselves from either scenario, basically. Blockchain circles feels like there's a black swan around the corner, a great buying opportunity. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys would have been with me. It was about a month and a half ago. I actually kind of jokingly, but kind of serious, said that as Bitcoin approached 66K, we were going to see war start to escalate. And it was literally like the next day, all of a sudden I started seeing a bunch of videos of missile barrages and stuff like that. So, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news kind of a thing. It's wild. It is absolutely crazy how the charts predict things. Oh yeah. Watch for a structure break on the 1 minute and 5 minute around that level. Gary meant. Yeah, absolutely. I will 100% be looking at the exact same thing you're looking at then. And you use 100x cross. I'm scared of cross. That's just me personally. I know a lot of people do great with cross trading. I just really like to know. I just like to have my stop in place and just, hey, this is how much isolated margin can disappear. Worst case scenario, basically. But yeah, especially if you're able to watch it and stuff like that. If you're on cross and you can adjust things on the go, absolutely. I'm personally scared of it, but everyone has their own trading strategies, right? Look at ETH and Sol. I absolutely will. Give me 1 minute here. So on the 1 minute, I would have a short entry at 63,100. Base for my trading strategy, yes. I actually slightly lower, but because I like to front run my fibs slightly. But basically, and I'm actually going to have to do that on a different device on another account here in a little bit, but I'm going to have to ladder in some entries. So basically, I start my position like a good example of how I ladder in is a quarter, and half of my position. So that really brings the average entry up so that if I get invalidated, then at least the loss is a little more controlled. Yes, that means I might get a smaller position than I was expecting because I only hit my first entry or whatever. So that's not saying I'm doubling down, quadrupling down on my position, you guys. That's splitting an order up to reduce risk, not increase it. That's just one thing. That's one way that I really like trading anyways. No promises we're even going to get to that level because we're already having a hard time holding structure on the 1 minute, but I've been really digging these auto charting tool signals as far as looking for that second opinion lately. They've just been reacting so well, and especially today, like I said, every single one of these to the downside played out. This one never got a retest, and this one has not got a retest yet, but every other one got that 786 retrace. Crazy how accurate that's been today. Yeah, being able to add to a trade with the profit is nice. That's another thing. I know I don't think I can do it on Blowfin. I know when I used to trade on, was it Bybit or MEXC? I can't remember. One of those other exchanges I used to trade on. I know that I could up the leverage as my position was profitable, kind of a thing. And then, just like, hey, if it's super safe for me to add aggressively to my position here on a new trade setup, kind of a thing, then why not? But yeah, that was fun. But I don't think I can do that on Blowfin. Unless, like you said, I'd go to cross leverage or something like that. Yeah, I mean, really, as long as you're using a stop loss, it shouldn't affect anything else in your account, right? It's really just if that position gets totally liquidated and then it starts digging into other assets and other positions, if I'm not mistaken. I could misunderstand that because, like I said, I've never actually played with it, but yeah, for trained for someone who's used to using cross leverage, I'm sure it definitely would have its perks, right? As far as newer traders, I would recommend against it just because isolated, exactly worst case scenario. Because a stop loss isn't always necessarily worst case scenario. I've had stop losses in profits that ended up liquidating positions before. No, I don't use MEXC anymore. I miss it because the fees were really cheap. I have a few reasons, but I don't want to go over them publicly. Other than my liquidation story I just told, where I had a stop loss and a profit, and the position got liquidated. That put a sour taste in my mouth. But there's a few other reasons. But I know a lot of people who do trade there still. BitMEX, like the BitMEX I was trading on when I started trading, that BitMEX, that was like the first place I found out where you could actually trade. And I don't even think it had an app. I think it was just on the website. I just remember when I traded there, it was the server overload issues. Every time it would get volatile, server overload. Here's a bunch of slippage for your position. So with the Algo Master on the 4 hour here, you guys, yes, there's a buy signal and we're kind of right at the support trend, but notice what I was talking about before, it's a lower buy signal. So I really wouldn't be too surprised to see a lower sell signal come into play soon. Just kind of confirming that downside price action. Because when I use these indicators, specifically the ones that have like the buy and sell signals, I generally don't take each individual signal, but I like to look at which direction they're trending for when I'm looking, which way should I be trading this market, because the trend is your friend, right? So if I have upward trending buy signals, I'm looking for those Stuber fib pulls, demand zones, stuff like that. So that's the thing. All these red boxes, green boxes, absolutely everything here other than this yellow box is just outlined by this indicator. You can set automatic Fibonacci's. You can set all sorts of stuff. I like to pull my own fibs and stuff like that, but it's so crazy how much customization these indicators have. You can also put up your daily opens, weekly opens, monthly, quarterly, yearly, all that sort of stuff. So very cool how you can just customize them to fit how you like to trade, right? Again, if these indicators do interest you, there is an additional 10% discount on checkout using the link down below. Like I said, I use these religiously. I use them every single day of my life. A good dozen or more of them here. I've been really liking this liquidations indicator on the 4 hour though. Just helping show, hey, does it make sense that my theory could be correct that we go to the downside? Well, there's a shit ton of late longs in the market right now that are just begging to be liquidated. All these liquidations, all these yellow and gold brown lines here, it's all 50 to 100x leverage long positions here down here. So that's, if Mr. Market Maker wants to grab liquidity, I know where he can find a whole lot of it. Got the higher highs and the higher lows with this indicator. But again, that's in a smaller range, right? Because the way I'm actually looking at this is the more macro, and we haven't broken out of this range yet. When I see the lower low print, is that a small confluence to buy the temporary dip for the short term? No, I don't like fighting the trend all too much. I mean, it does work out that way sometimes, like to look for something like this. But especially now that there's a new lower high, I personally wouldn't trust that lower low as a bottom. As far as looking for a short setup. There's one. Understand that on a small range like this, I mean, depending, right? If the price keeps going down, this range is going to open up a little bit. But as it stands, this is currently the bottom of the range. So the type of setup I would be looking at would be something like taking the short off this box here. And the thing is, these ranges are getting smaller, especially one printed like this. So understand that my take profit on these scalp setups is the 214. So yes, this is a smaller range currently. The market doesn't always give us a giant one like we want. But yeah, basically what size of a move would that be? 562 down to 406. So like there's a $150, $160 range there. And also depends if you'd end up getting your other entries. I'm not interested in taking that small of one right now since I'm already in one much higher. Actually, should I? Why not? I'll take a little scalp on my other account. Invalidation will be, I'll go just above 62.7. So my plan is to, like I said, quarter, half kind of a thing, just to help bring my average entry up so that if I do hit all of them, it would be somewhere, hopefully just right around the 886, maybe just slightly above it. And that just tightens up my invalidation level, right? When I decide the trends have changed on the 1 minute, yeah, like I'll watch, the ALGO master, for example. I like to watch which way these are trending. So if we got a higher buy signal, I'd at least consider the fact that, hey, that's a warning. The sell signals are not in agreement yet. So ideally, I want to see the sells and the buys trending to the upside. And also, just if I got some sort of a decent lower high structure break. Let's see, we might even... that's so close, I'm not even going to consider that one. But basically, just to microanalyze the 1 minute here. So I'm looking at this as a low. We obviously broke below it, set another lower low. And yes, this is microanalyzing the immediate trend. This is the highest point between the two. So that's my lower high. And I don't know, technically we got very slightly above it, but never really closed that green candle above. So I'm still considering that not really a good structure break. If it was more obvious, I'd be looking at some sort, like, let's say we came all the way up here, for example, then I would be open to the idea of looking for long positions in these levels. But so that would be a typical Stuber fib setup. Unfortunately, right now, I'm not going to consider this a structure break because it's so close. With the structure break, then the pullback, that's more so where I give more credit to the Stuber fibs. Yeah, it's absolutely possible we just end up pulling back, hit the 786 and moon from there. Yeah, it's a possibility. It's just not the type of setup that I typically look for, with the additional structure break kind of verifying that the trend may continue in that direction, more likely to catch a running position. And if we drop here, then, like I said, I have to adjust my Fibonacci's, in which case I'm going to have to go and adjust my orders as well. And that's fine. That's a part of, trading the shorter time frames, and especially going for more of a reactive type of trade setup like this. Yeah, just you have to adjust the Fibonacci's as you move, because obviously your range is changing size. But honestly, I've missed plenty of long setups recently just because I'm not as interested in them. Like I said earlier, I don't have FOMO. I'm one of the few people out there, I think, that just has zero FOMO for all-time highs right now. So I don't really care. I definitely have a way more trigger happy finger on the sell button these days. Definitely quicker to pull the trigger on, short setups. Still not FOMOing, right? You're still waiting for those pullbacks. Yeah, sometimes they don't play out, but that's trading. Yeah, so I'm going to cancel my orders for now because things are going to change a little bit. I'll just set some new ones if it looks like there's a chance we're going to bounce, kind of a thing. Actually, I do want to watch this one now. Because quite often we get some sort of a reaction off the 786, 886 anyways. I'm not taking the long. I want to be clear about that. I might actually, if anything, I'm debating taking another nibble off my short profits here. I'm over 150% profit. I think it's a reasonable time to take a little more. 62 to 12. I'm going to take another nibble off my profits, and then I'll have half my position running still. Hopefully we get there. I'm not front running that 786 by too much. Come on. Push it down just that little bit. You got this, Biddy. Short seems quicker. Generally speaking, bears like to move about 3 times faster than bulls, I believe it is. I'm sure you've heard the expression, bulls take the stairs, bears jump out the window, or jump out the window, take the elevator, whatever. And same thing, right? Like a bull market, although not so much just the parabolic side of it, but the entire bottoming out / consolidating bull market, like from bear market bottom to bull market top, I think generally it is around 3 years, whereas the bear market is more of like closer to 1 year. So that would also support that theory. Oh, right. I was going to look at, what was it? ETH and Sol. Let me just go up a little bit here. Hopefully you're still here. Sorry, I forgot about that. Not trying to ignore it. XRP is another one. Looks, oh, excuse me. XRP looks a little frightening, if you ask me. Broke this beautiful uptrend it had, broke a very serious structure level there, broke this uptrend here. The only thing is this uptrend, this yellow trend line here, only had 2 touch points before breaking down. I usually like to have 3 to have it confirmed, but it is what it is. It doesn't look good. And like I said, especially since we lost that higher low structure, I think XRP, I don't see why it wouldn't go down to this Fibonacci pocket at this point, which would be around 48 cents down towards 46 cents. I think it'll largely depend what Bitcoin does, but Solana. Hopefully it's okay that I'm going to... Actually, I'll look at Binance. Let's see what a few things are saying. First things first, I just want to map out some random trend lines here. Some sort of a pennant. Just doing a little freestyle in here. So, oh boy. So we do have a lower low there. This is the 4 hour. That lower low. Notice where we ended up getting rejected, right at the 786. Since we've set a lower low there. Yeah, we haven't set a new one. Yeah, I mean, so far we still have this downtrend, obviously. I would pull a Fibonacci from here if I was looking for resistance. I mean, it's possible we do climb to the upside a little bit, but that doesn't mean that it would be bullish, right? Kind of the same thing as Bitcoin. Notice we have this downward sloping trend line for resistance, lining up very closely with where that 786, 886 fib pocket would be if we did go to the upside. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of resistance up ahead, especially because this is one of those times, right? There is the structure break there supporting that theory. So this resistance is a little bit stronger than if we just found a double bottom right here, right? In my opinion, it's a little stronger just because it's looking like, hey, that structure is broken to the downside. Yeah, we didn't get an immediate dump off a cliff because generally speaking, the market doesn't break out near as much as it ranges sideways. But that is a bearish structure break. So even if we get some sort of a relief rally up to those levels around 175 up towards 184, I think Solana still has a lot of work to do. If Bitcoin smashes all-time highs, then yeah, absolutely, I think it would break out. But another thing to watch for would be maybe a third touch point on this. If we just extend this, we're probably in, kind of looks like we're in this sort of a range, just a very slightly down sloping. It does look like a bull flag on a larger time frame, right? The thing is, it does have this horizontal structure break, but yeah, something to watch for there. If we start getting down towards this support level, mark my words, people are going to get extremely bearish once again, and they're going to start shorting into support. But understand that even if that structure is bearish, it's quite likely that we would just sweep the lows and then go set some sort of a lower high again if the trend was going to continue. Let's see, what are some of the indicators saying? There is still higher highs and higher lows with the auto charting tools, but again, the macro structure is a little different. That's just more the smaller range inside the bigger range. Ooh, the ALGO indicator, that's actually interesting. The ALGO master here. So this is one of those times where we do have upward sloping buy and sell signals. That is interesting. The daily, they're trending to the downside. What's the 1 hour looking like? Ooh, I don't like that the 1 hour lost the structure here. Even though the buys and sells are trending to the upside, it looks weak to me after losing this structure here. Basically flipping this order block from support into resistance. Oof. But yeah, the 4 hour, that's interesting. Those signals to the upside on the 4 hour are interesting in my opinion. But yeah, I think it'll just depend what Bitcoin's doing, honestly. To me, it looks like we're in this quite a large range. And I don't know, to me, it looks like we're going towards the downside. Oh, hit my my partial take profit there on that short position. Yeah, so I only have half of my short running now at this point from up here. Beautiful trade either way. But yeah, I'm just open to the idea of further downside. I don't know. I treat the 786 and 886 like a buy level, but I'm not bullish. I'm still buying because I'm buying to close out a part of my short. But honestly, I just don't see much strength. Even if we get a bounce here, I really don't care. The thing is, if we break this resistance here, I mean, we didn't really have any trading action here because it was a straight anti-moon shot there. So if we do break that high, I think it makes sense that we would shoot right back up. But I'm not so sure that we would reverse the trend, right? We might just end up finding resistance from this range. What's a 5-minute doing? Hey, where did my lower high signals go? Accidentally deleting shit on myself here. So if we get a bounce, like I said, technically a 786. If we get some sort of a bounce now, I'd be more open to this short rather than that long. If it looks like we're going to start climbing, I'll set some orders again on the other account. How is everyone else feeling on the market? Is anyone in any longs, any shorts, Bitcoin, altcoins, mostly spot accumulating, buying the dip? How is everybody approaching this currently? And guys, if you do appreciate my insights here, looking at my trading strategy, checking out my indicators, all that stuff, please do me a favor. Be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the Financial Summit here. I know a lot of people have mentioned in the past that they've missed my streams. They didn't know I streamed here, etc. Be sure to subscribe here, and as well, my own socials are down in the description down below for my own channels and stuff like that. But yeah, loving doing these shorter time frames. Also, let me know, how do you guys like the shorter time frames? Like, I know that not everybody's trading the 1 minute and stuff like that, but hopefully you're still taking something valuable out of these. You know, how I look at structure, how I look at Fibonacci's. Just say something that catches your attention that goes good with the strategy you're always going for. I love looking at the shorter time frames because then we're way more likely to see live examples like this too, right? Oh, I got in a short at the top of the 1 minute and sold literally right before it dumped. Ugh, that's so heartbreaking every time. Heartbreaking. Honestly, that's why I never close a full position. I always just kind of scale in and scale out of my positions because, yeah, I'm not banking on home run trades, because if you do that, you're going to get wrecked over and over because they rarely come. But when they come, I really want to catch it, right? Because those running positions, they they can be very much so worth it just leaving. Even if I'm closing, like right now, for example, I still have half my position running, but generally speaking, I would actually be closing it much quicker than I have been. Normally, I would only have 25 to 20% of my position still running. The only reason I have so much of it running still with half of it running is because, like I said, I just see so many reasons why we would just tumble to the downside from here. Doesn't have to happen. And if it doesn't, it's okay. I paid myself with half my position. So I'm very stress-free right now, as trading should be. Shorted 64.1K this morning. Got out a little earlier. Made some corn and happy. Yeah, exactly. Profit is profit, right? Oh, I would agree with that 100%. I would way rather, I know I shouldn't feel that way, but I would rather lose a trade than to exit a trade early and watch it do exactly what I was thinking. Like, if I would have FOMO'd after, that little rally last night, this is a lot of what ifs. If last night we got that rally, I FOMO'd in and I started longing, or more so stopped shorting, and then all of a sudden we got that massive dump towards much lower levels that I was discussing on previous streams. If that happened and I called the whole thing and I did nothing about it, I would just be kicking myself. What's Solana? Sorry, I kind of jumped off of Solana, but yeah, Solana looks like shit too. I mean, we're setting lower low, lower low. We even broke below that level. So yeah, even if we get some sort of a bounce, we had this structure: high, higher, high, higher, low, and we obviously lost that structure and even got the SR flip. So Solana, just the markets in general don't look great to me. Yes, relief rallies happen, and honestly, I could be invalidated, right? I'm very happy if we just get an engulfing bullish candle here and we carry on to the bull market. Fantastic. You know what? I'll continue holding on to my spot positions, and I will change my trading bias. But until that happens, I just can't shake my bearish gut feeling. Ethereum I was gonna look at. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Ethereum looks just like Solana. At a quick glance, anyways. Just looking for any sort of. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty strong support, flipped into pretty strong resistance. That's on the 5-minute for Ethereum. What are some indicators saying? Auto charting, yeah, we've set a lower low and we've broke below that. So I know there's not a signal there, but since we set a lower low after the lower low signal, I mean, technically we could look for something like that. That would also be a nice retest of very close to that old support line again. Yeah, ALGO master. We see that we obviously have downward sloping buy signals, downward sloping sell signals. Yeah, it doesn't look great to me. Let's check out the 4-hour. I haven't looked at Ethereum in a long time. So here's my problem with this chart right now. And it's a minor detail, but the way I like my set of rules for structure, it's a big deal. So yes, you could say that, hey, we broke above this level here. We set a higher high. The thing is, our last, even on the very immediate trend, our last low before that was right here. Again, this is very micro analyzing, just this very immediate swing here. We had this low, lower low. This is actually the lower high on that downtrend. And we obviously have not broken that. I mean, realistically, I should be looking at more, something a little more reasonable, like, that would be a good resistance level, and so on. But just the very immediate trend, micro analyzing things, that was our low, lower low. And since that, we have not broke that. So that's how the structure remains at this time for the way I'm looking at it. Kind of the same way as I'm looking at the Bitcoin 4-hour chart and stuff, right? Just the range hasn't broke yet. So therefore, I'm not considering any other lower lows, lower highs, because these are all just mini ranges inside the other range. So it's still, none of this chop looks necessarily bullish to me. The ALGO master on the 4-hour, much like Solana, it does technically have a higher buy signal. There is that to consider. I didn't realize Ethereum was so much further away from its all-time highs. Ooh, that daily nasty downtrend of buy and sell signals. So it's a buy signal on the daily right now. If we got some sort of engulfing candle here, and it absolutely might, if that happens, I mean, there might be some credibility to this buy signal. Oh, Bitcoin range changed slightly. We had a daily close, hey, just very recently. Yeah, so kind of same thing as Ethereum. I mean, if we get a nice bullish engulfing candle, maybe we continue to the upside, but I'm still just not seeing it, because even with this structure break, like I said, if we come back up to this super fib around 65.7, really all the way up towards 67.5, I mean, that's all resistance territory. So yeah, absolutely, it can be broken, and eventually it will be someday, I'm sure. It just doesn't have to break right now is the thing. So it's just time to be cautious as we trade into resistance levels, right? Even on the daily chart here, just looking at this little order block, that gave us our last little push here to the upside. Just notice where our daily candle, I'd say yesterday, today, whatever you want to call it, just basically pulling that square from this red box here, this red candle, just basically the last push to the downside before the bulls took the reins and pushed us to the upside one more time. So that was basically the order block I'm looking at. And just notice that we basically wicked into it, but just faced rejection there. So again, I'm seeing a lot of weakness. Even if Bitcoin does recover, to pretend that there's no red flags would just be careless at this point. Do I use order flow? Not generally. The only, I guess, I do use the Keltner order flow technically from my indicators here. That would be the extent of the overflow or order flow that I use, rather. Should set a couple orders just in case. Again, this is kind of what I'm going for. Remember, this is just what I'm doing. And obviously, any trade setup can lose, but this is what I'm looking at. This is the strategy I've been trading, especially like I said today. It has been phenomenal. I only did this one, but like as far as I probably should have been in my other scalping account, but all of these signals printed such nice Stuber fibs. Trends break eventually, but so far today it has been juicy. There we go. Let's get some colors going. Some new colors, some new tunes. Let's do it. LFG. Might not even get up to my entries. Basically, I want to see what happens. I want to see if we do get up to my entries. If we end up setting another lower low here, I'm probably going to call her there and just let my existing short take the reins. But I'm basically going to be looking for the same thing to still hopefully catch some scalps like that going into the evening. But we'll have to see how they print and, yeah, see if I can get one. Don't know how close I'll be watching for the rest of the day, but hopefully you guys are enjoying these live streams, just hanging out, looking at some degen timeframes, looking at structure together. I like looking at charts either way, so it's always more fun to look at charts with other people and get other opinions because everyone looks at different things, right? Do not feel like you need to be my echo chamber. I do not need anybody to verify what I'm saying or anything like that. If you do, great. But just understand that I'm not going to get super upset if you disagree with me. If you're bullish, that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong either, right? Like, that's the thing. I can be bearish, and yes, I'm trading the bearish side heavier and better than I'm trading the long side. But understand that somebody could be trading the long side and just absolutely killing it anyways, right? Like, depending how their trading strategies are, it doesn't really matter what your opinion is, and predicting which way the market's going to go, it really doesn't mean anything. All that matters is execution. And that's where I always say that the whole being able to react over being able to predict. Being able to predict, yeah, obviously it helps you react, but if you can't do that side of it, if you can't react to changing structure, and if your opinions are invalidated and you can't change your opinion anyways, that's where you just need to take a step back, take a deep breath. Yeah, exactly. The market can be unreasonable, especially near all-time highs. And that's the thing. If it is going to do that, then we have our invalidation levels. And as well, that's where I change my bias, right? Structure breaks on the 4 hour, and we finally break out of that range that I've been watching for a month or two now. Then my opinion changes, and then we react to it, right? Awesome. Glad to hear that you guys are enjoying the streams. Yeah, and hopefully everyone left a like if you appreciate what I'm doing here. It's supposed to say StuTubeTrading down here, but whoops. It does look like we're making a push up there. It's trying to. Looking at taking a short around 62.7. Yeah, that would be right around the top of the area that I'd be interested in shorting as well. If it goes much higher than that, I think there's a good chance that it just ends up testing back up into this higher range here, or at least to the bottom of this. But yeah, kind of anywhere from the 786 is basically where I start looking for entries. Like, I'm already bearish on the trend, but I'm not FOMOing into a short at support, right? I'm hoping to get those entries around the 786, 886, the 1. Sometimes I even put a little order kind of in the middle, just front running the 115 a little bit, because sometimes you do get a little grab up there before reversing, but usually I just do the 3. That's just me personally. And yeah, if I do get my entries, 1 or all 3 of them, basically if we get anywhere in here, my range target's going to be just front running the 214 slightly. just like always. That's basically where I'm gonna, since that's gonna be more of a scalp, since I'm already holding a longer term position there, that'll be half my position I'll be taking profits on, and again hoping to catch a bigger move with the rest of the position with the stop loss at break even at that point, but that's obviously a few steps away. Oh yeah, the last lower high signal doesn't show on MEXC chart, but it does on Blowfin. Yeah, and that can be a thing too, right? And that goes for any indicator. That's why I always look at whatever chart I'm actually trading, just because prices can vary slightly, indicators can vary slightly. Oh shit! Oh man, I totally forgot to do that. To watch some time-based stuff. I do remember you, and I am very sorry. I totally forgot to. I've been quite busy lately. Out of the country, at an out of town wedding another time. This weekend was, we had crazy winds. We had 90-kilometer-an-hour winds, so I was out kite surfing. Well, trying to. When I threw the kite up in the sky, I couldn't walk the 5 feet back to the water to get in it, unfortunately. But yeah, haven't been around the house all too much recently, but I'll check out some time-based stuff. Got all sorts of music to get through here. Where did I travel to? I went to San Diego for a bit. There was a TwitchCon event there. Mostly I went for the zoo, though. Who am I kidding? I'm actually going to take a picture of those names you just threw out so that hopefully I remember this time. No promises. I have the memory of a goldfish. Well, do you think we're going to get that entry? First of all, do you guys think we're going to get that entry? Second of all, do you think it's going to win or lose? We've got a nice downtrend so far. My only thing is eventually trends break. This one's been going strong all day. Oh yeah, that's all good. No, I'm curious to check some of it out as well. Like, I keep timing in the back of my mind. Like, that's one reason why I'm open to the idea of this trend reversing, basically, is just the timing with the election and a whole bunch of things. I feel like the bears are almost running out of time, but that might also be a push for one quick black swan event, nuke the markets really quick, and then carry on. There's a few things I consider with timing, but yeah, I just haven't looked at it all that much, to be honest. Other than like when I map out random trend lines. Ooh, a higher low signal. I'm actually canceling those orders, guys. Sorry. That changes how I feel about this, just because that lower high is not the it's not the same signal anymore, or it's not the current signal. There's still a short opportunity there. Yes, it might work out. It just, I lost the validation, that second opinion from the indicator there. I might regret this. We might just hit this and then nuke, and I could have been in a nice juicy second short. But just with this signal here, that makes me second guess it. Or do I just enter one higher? Fuck it. I'll take a little one. I cut the position in half, though, just because I lost that faith in it. I am still going to add up here then as well. Let's go 233. I'll set half my take profit. Yeah, I could see us sweep that liquidity. Like I said, with that higher low, it does make sense that we could go a little higher. I'm just hoping that basically this one plays out really quickly. I think that if we hit this target, it may reverse. So yeah, as soon as I close half this position, I'll be updating the rest of my stop loss to break even on that one. If I hit this target. And just to keep my risk tight on this, I'm actually removing my second order. My reasoning for that is basically, for one, this higher low signal just makes me second guess this a little bit. For two, is just since we already got rejected at this fib box, if we now go and break it with another test, I just think it's less likely that we're going to continue down and hit my target. Ideally, I want to see that basically immediate reaction down to my target. If I don't get that, then I kind of lose faith in it. So this bull run is flopping. I think this bull run's just doing what any other bull market has done. Like, I would say this one's actually corrected a lot less than any previous bull market. Like, I mean, yeah, call this what it is. Sure, maybe it's COVID. Either way, it respected the same Fibonacci's. I mean, look at that dump before we went parabolic. That was a 72% correction to the downside before carrying on parabolic. And I mean, something to consider is everyone always gets excited, thinks, oh, this time's different, blah, blah, blah. Understand that generally speaking, every bull market's going to get smaller. I know the common expression is, oh, this is going to be the biggest bull run ever. Yes, the dollar amounts that it moves is going to be the biggest ever, but the percentages are going to get smaller because it takes way more money to move the price. Even though there is halving cycles happening, yes, that's cutting down the mining rate, but they are still being mined. There is still constantly more Bitcoin, being mined slowly. And yeah, and then it just, as the price goes up, it takes that much extra money. And I mean, we're kind of getting to the point, this is actually, I don't know if I want to talk about that theory because people will get upset, but after this cycle, at what point, who are the bigger players coming into the space in the next cycles? We got rich people involved, businesses involved, hedge funds involved. We got ETFs, we got BlackRock, we got all these massive investment firms and governments. We have, like, at what point, where's the next wall of money going to come from? And I know that, yes, with adoption, yes, those people are going to just constantly be putting a little more in and more in, and over time, yes, it'll do things, but understand that I don't know how I feel about a bunch of crazy parabolic runs in the next cycles. I don't know. That's a theory that, I mean, there's a lot of what ifs between now and then, and I'm not going to try and pretend to understand the fundamentals absolutely perfectly. It's just kind of something that's been going through my mind is, each bull market is getting smaller percent returns. Where's the next wave of money coming from? I do not have a target for the bull market. No, basically, I'm more of a reaction trader. So basically, I'm going to be watching something like the 4 hour, how I've been talking about this downtrend we have on the 4 hour. If we start breaking that structure and we set higher high, which confirms higher high, confirming higher low. If we get that sort of market structure going, then I'm not going to guess what the top will be. It'll be more so when we lose that trend, then I'll start playing the bearish side again. And if it happens to be the top, cool at that point. And if not, and it just continues breaking to the upside, that's what invalidations are for. But I don't really have a set number in mind or anything like that. Yeah, like adoption. The thing is, the way I feel about adoption, I have mixed feelings about it. Yeah, it'll be great, and I think that crypto deserves to be adopted. I love it and I use it every day. It seems way more efficient and whatnot than the current banking systems in place. Maybe that's a strong bias of mine, but whatever. It is what it is. Unfortunately, with adoption, that definitely means that market cycles get way more tame, right? Volatility, I mean, when there's mass adoption, kiss volatility goodbye after that. Bitcoin will start, in my opinion, anyways, Bitcoin will start acting way more like gold. Or Forex, stuff like that. It's going to be way less volatile. The good news is, at least as traders, and especially in crypto, it's very easy to find ridiculous amounts of leverage. So as volatility gets, dies down, then at least you can still technically up your leverage a bunch, right? And I mean, as it's adopted, I don't want to sound too pessimistic there. Obviously, as crypto is more adopted, then more pensions are getting involved and people are investing in it, whether they know they are or not, and stuff like that. There's going to be a constant flow of money going into it as it's, more openly adopted, more widely adopted. But just the volatility percentages and stuff like that will obviously just become a little tamer. I think it was Sammy Loyal. I remember hearing a couple years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and he was talking about how with Wall Street coming into the market, they were going to tame the market, and it's absolutely true. As soon as they got their hands on it and there was leverage involved and stuff like that, they were able to control the market a lot more. Our parabolic runs got significantly smaller. That's what happens when way more money comes in. Yeah, we still had a bull market and whatnot, but it was significantly smaller than the one before. Just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, from this bottom to that top, 13,000% return. This bottom to this top, 2,200%. So far this cycle, bottom to top, 387%. Yeah, I don't necessarily think this cycle's over, but just goes to show how less volatile they get every cycle. Everyone keeps thinking that, oh, this is going to be the biggest run ever. Well, dollar amount, yes. Percentage, no. I am surprised we're even climbing right now a little bit. I personally don't want to see this turn into an engulfing bullish candle, but if it does, then I just have to be a little more cautious on the bearish side is all. They put BTC ATM machines all over in your area. Nobody uses them, but I suspect the rates will go down when they're ready for mass adoption. Yeah. My favorite computer hardware store in town here, they have a Bitcoin machine, and I just checked it out just out of curiosity, and I think the price of Bitcoin was like $18,000 higher. Yeah, percentage is what it's all about. That's the thing. They're getting put everywhere, gas stations, Walgreens, etc. Yeah, yeah, that's true. They are starting to go up everywhere. I mean, anybody who's an actual crypto person who, like, obviously you're not going to pay the premium fee on getting that, but yeah, absolutely, it's being thrown in people's faces if nothing else. This is taking forever to play out. Oh boy. The ALGO master has a sell signal on the weekly. That's something I either didn't notice or I forgot about. Oh boy. just to kind of show you guys why this is concerning, here's the back tested data, shows you how many trade counts this indicator, you know, the net profit, the win rate, etc. This is on sensitivity 1, I believe. Yes, 1. So 88.9% success rate. And that's a sell signal right there. That's something that I never even added to all the other bearish things that I was talking about at the start of my stream. These have called some very large moves. Even this one, like, yeah, it missed this first candle, but it caught this. What is this? Another 50% to the downside, damn near. This one here caught the COVID dump. So whether or not that was COVID related, the charts already said we were going to dump 60% to the downside. This one here caught second half of that bear market. That's another 50% signal. This one here didn't work out. This would have been the only one that I see, I think. That was a failure. So yeah, that's a very significant signal as well. Ooh, expected bars 40. Ooh, guys, I'm gonna pretend we never saw this. There's none that can look forward. I disagree with that. I would say that called it forward. This one called it forward. This one called it ahead. This one called it. This one called it. This one called it. This one called it. Lagging telling you, well, I guess it depends how you look at it. Yeah, you miss a part of the move, but it caught, even if you waited till, let's say, that candle closed and just happened to buy there rather than using it, waiting till it comes back to the line. I mean, that still caught a 500% move. Both bear markets caught about 50%. 200% from this one on this bull market so far. It's just another, and also remember what I said earlier in the stream too. I personally don't take every buy or sell signal. I more so like to look at which way they're trending generally. On the weekly, that's a little bit different. But yeah, obviously with this, here's the back testing data on all the different sensitivities. There's some pretty good percentage rates there. But yeah, honestly, I'm more of a structure guy, structure and fibs. And from there, I use indicators as a second opinion kind of a thing. I would also say that this signal did me wonders today, being I'm sitting at about 150% profit off that guy. But I get what you're saying. A lot of people rely so much on indicators that they're more so just using them to force entries rather than knowing, structure and then looking for those validations, right? At the end of the day, structure is always number one for me. Oh, yeah. Also, if that's a good point. There's probably like a 30-second delay or so. It's a long short looking like. You know, one reason that keeps me second guessing my bearish theories is this monthly chart. I do think this monthly chart looks pretty good. That does look like a bull flag. It's really the weekly that has me quite concerned. And the reason I'm showing it here is just because whenever I go check the long short ratio, this is kind of where I always end up catching this out the corner of my eye. Retail's shockingly not as long as I would have thought, but there's a lot of liquidity though, so must be heavy orders or something. Just kind of looks like we're testing up into the 4-hour candle a little bit. There's still so much liquidity down here. Oh boy, another lower high signal. Thing with this one is this is a very tight range. If you're gonna start pulling a fib, I would wait until there was some sort of a drop before I would look for a new pull, something like that, because obviously that's a tiny ass range. I am going to snug up the stop loss on this guy a little bit, just because if we break two of these signals here, I'm just going to consider that invalidated as well. Could it go higher till 67K from this point and then dump to get the liquidity all the way down to 52? Absolutely. You know, that's another thing. That's where I was talking about. Let me just make things a little bit cleaner. But my macro resistance is still that 786, 886 fib pocket. And that ranges from 65.5 up towards 67.5 approximately. That's the same fib box that we respected the last two swings. Does it have to happen again? Absolutely not. But yeah, there's absolutely room to the upside yet before we would face the stronger resistance. So even if we do end up climbing from here, yeah, there's still resistance up ahead. Not to say it can't be broken. It's just something to be aware of before, you know, FOMOing into every long in sight as we're trading right into resistance, right? I don't look at open interest as much as I should. It can't drop below 59K. Oh, it absolutely can. I would say it's quite likely. But definitely doesn't have to. But I think there's absolutely, well, the thing that Bitcoin has taught me over the last few years is that anything can happen. No matter how sure you are of any type of trade setup, always understand what happens if you're wrong. Because I've had many positions where I thought, you know what, this checks every single box of mine. There's no way this loses. And then it loses. It happens. No, it can't. I like the attitude. Time won't allow it. Yeah, I mean, all right. Yes, my chart name is StuTubeDegen. This one's shitcoins. StuTube preset and cheat sheet. But yes, I'm a degen. That's why I'm usually on the 1 minute and 5 minute. Are we dropping or what? No kidding. Stomach's starting to rumble, and we've been here for like 2 hours, so I want to get going, but I also want to see what happens. I agree with that, Hurley. 70K is the break point. If we crack that, then the bulls are back in business. Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm looking at things too, is just because that's my lower high here. as much as I would love to consider this a lower high or this a lower high, we just don't have the structure showing that yet because we haven't broke below this range. Just to clean things up. Lower low, our next lower low. Swing high is the highest point between the two. Nothing about this chart has changed since the start of August. We have been in this range ever since. Each swing sets a lower low, pulls a Fibonacci, goes and retests the 786,886. Lower low, 786,886. Yet to see what happens there. Not getting a nice reaction off this one. A little more consolidating than I'd like. ETH. Oh boy. Because, yeah, if the price can clear this, it may very well be a straight shot up. So like I said earlier, for those of you who are with me, just since we had this straight down shot here, there was no real consolidation, no structure built or anything. So I think if we do get above any of this current consolidation structure resistance levels, I think it's a A decent little move straight to the upside. What would that be? Looking at almost a % move to the upside. But yeah, I'm still favoring the bear side for my setups for now. I know that doesn't surprise too many people. I know a lot of people think I'm a perma bear. I promise I'm not. Honestly, I can't wait to be a moon boy with everybody again. It was fun. Nice. I'll check that out in the Discord in a little bit here, actually. Aha. Oh boy. That's an interesting chart you posted there. Notice it. Notice what it lines up with, hey? Sorry, I know a lot of you guys can't see this. The Discord he's talking about would be the MDX ALGO Discord. You get access with that with the indicators. You're in there, are you not? Oh, the longer we just consolidate sideways here rather than getting rejected off this signal makes me think that we are gonna just pop to the upside soon. I think it'll be short-lived if it happens, and I will be more so just looking for shorts again at a later time if that happens, but just a feeling. MDX Algo email shared a graph with two possible scenarios. It appears that both of them played out. I didn't even check that email, to be honest, but fantastic. Not was it the man himself who wrote it? Hey, helpful info is good info. There we go. Come on, nuke this Ponzi, for frick's sakes. You guys have been so patient with me. We're here for, holy hell, we're coming up on 2.5 hours soon. By the way, guys, thank you all for being here, by the way. I like doing these streams with you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy being here. I enjoy looking at short time frame charts and whatnot, especially around the daily close. I find that quite often it does get volatile, but unfortunately the volatility kicked in basically right as I was waiting for my stream event to start. But that's okay. The structure remains the same. If this could just hit that partial take profit, that half the position take profit, then I could update my stop loss and we can carry on with our lives. Oh boy, gotta be up in 4 hours waiting for this drop though. Just can't leave it. I know the feeling. There is so many times where I think that I am going to be leaving the house or leaving the stream or whatever, and next thing you know, an hour or two later, I'm still staring at the colorful charts. Yeah, exactly. Every trader is completely different, and that's why there's no real right or wrong answer, right? I always wait for certain strategies to jump out at me. Like even, you know, I know a few very very good traders out there, and still, if they give me a trade setup, I won't take it blindly unless I agree with it or something like that, or it just meets my criteria. No matter how good of a trader anybody is, I'll never just blindly take something they're looking at, because every trader makes mistakes, every trader overlooks things, every trader has their own strategy that works for them. There's a few people, especially people, many of you are actually in here, who I talk to pretty much every day, and a lot of us are very much so on the same page, looking at very similar trade setups and stuff like that. What works for me might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for me. So that's why I think backtesting is so important, right? That's this handy replay feature on TradingView. Then you can find things that actually catch your eye over and over, right? Because let's say I tell you how I look at structure and how I pull fibs, but if it's not something that you naturally grasp, or your eye isn't drawn to them or whatever, then maybe you need a different strategy, right? Not everybody looks at things the same. We could have the same indicators, same trend lines, same everything, and I guarantee we would trade it completely different. You know what? I'm going to bump up my stop loss to just better than break even on this scalp, just because since we dropped out of this range again, if we re-attack it, I'm just, as this goes, since it's taking so long and whatnot, I'm just losing faith in this position. So I'm just going to have my stop loss just above the 214 a little bit. I'm going to go 456, basically covering most of my fees. I still have that other position open, but yeah, I just, with time, just losing faith in this guy is all. Yeah, chaos. That's an excellent way of putting it there. Like saying you don't want to be led into a dark place with a person holding a torch and then they walk away with the torch. You're left there in the dark with no idea what the plan is. Exactly, right? And that's exactly how trading works. If, you know, if I can kind of, well, not me myself, but like if anybody, you know, takes you down a path or, you know, starts teaching you how they're trading, but all of a sudden, you know, if something happens in the chart, they may have a different way of reacting to it. And then you're just wondering, oh, why did that go against me? Well, maybe that guy still profited because he reacted to something or whatever, right? So it's important to come up with your own strategies that work for you, even if they're based around other people's strategies. Always know your own strategy and understand what the worst case scenario is if you're wrong as well. Yeah, chaos gets it. Come on, you bastard. I am hungry. How are you all feeling this fine evening? What type of time frames do you guys mostly trade? Like I know Chaos, you're on the longer time frames. Are most of you guys more like 4 hour, 1 hour type of thing? Or are you guys like me, 5 minute, 1 minute? What can I say? I'm a minute man. Super JK. Come on, all we need is one more quick little push either direction. Just get me out of this trade so I can go eat. Yeah, I swear, Jar, your trading desk, you'd be rich just off that alone and broke all at the same time. Yep, pretty much. The desk takes a lot of beatings, a lot of fist poundings, and etc. Luckily, I built my computer desk myself from scratch, so it can take it. 4 hour, 15 minute, 1 minute. Nice, nice. Yeah, it kind of looks like we're trying to break above this as well. Come on, just one more push. That's all I need. Oof. We're getting to that point. It's right between my stop loss and my take profit. So at this point, it's got to pick one of them soon. At least I can't really lose on this position. Might lose a few bucks on the trading fees there. It'll be very, very close to break even. What do I think made me consistent and confident at trading? Honestly, probably staring at a computer screen way more than anybody should admit. A lot of back testing. And then just coming up with something structured. That's why I really like Fibonacci's. It kind of takes a lot of the guessing work out of it of, oh, yes, this resistance level has been tested so many times, but sometimes it's from the, sometimes it's wicking past a couple $100, et cetera, et cetera. I just like Fibonacci's are a very structured method to looking at price levels. So that helped a lot. Yeah, exactly. Find a strategy that worked for you with your time frames. Exactly. For me, it was I guess a big one, a big game changer was looking at that 786, 886 fibs with structure breaks. And also just how I look at structure breaks. Like I know there was some levels I was like over analyzing and stuff like that, micro analyzing as I called it. There was a lot of that with very immediate trends and stuff. Just it was a random YouTube that was playing video that was playing in the background on one of my monitors, and someone just said something, and just the way they said it, it just clicked, and structure all of a sudden looked different to me. That actually comes down to why I haven't changed my opinion on the 4-hour, is because before I would have absolutely looked at this as, hey, this is a higher high because it's higher than this high. But the truth is we're still just in this bigger range. So being we haven't since setting this low here, we never did set another lower low here. If that would have happened, I would have considered this my lower high structure, and then this would have been a higher high. But that hasn't happened because we never set this lower low. The highest point between the last two lower lows is still up here, right? So just the way someone randomly outlined that, it just really helped things click in my head. But again, it's all stuff that, yeah, maybe I already knew it, but just the way someone said it, it just kind of clicked differently. No idea who the guy was. Haven't seen his trading channel since. It was just a random lucky scenario, random video playing in the background kind of a thing. But again, just because everyone looks at everything so differently, right? But that was just one thing that made a huge difference for me. Just the way I looked at structure and then bringing Fibonacci's in. Yeah, time frame is key. And that's the thing, right? And that's why I love getting into running positions. I like entering on shorter time frames, but I love when they turn into a running position, right? Like that short that I'm already in from before. Love being in that because now I don't really have to watch. My stop losses are in profits. I've already paid myself on that position. It really doesn't matter. So it's very freeing. But yes, I think a lot of people have a hard time, and myself included, have a hard time stepping away from the charts sometimes. But that being said, I do love looking at charts. And also another thing is I do play a lot of video games. So quite often, if I'm playing video games on one monitor, oh, get back down there. Are one of you guys front running me? Using me as that's just unfair. You know what? I'm closing half my position right now. That was a nice buyback. I just yeah, I was closed half of that scalp. Smaller profit than I wanted. That's only sitting around 10%. But whatever. And I'm adjusting this order. So since I already closed half, I'm going to close half of my remainder. So one more quarter. And I would have a quarter running if I don't get stopped out here. But on this position, I have nothing to worry about now because even though the fees, if I get stopped out here, the fees would probably be a small loss, except since I just closed half my position, that'll easily eat that away. So if I get stopped out, that'll be a very small profit on that scalp, and it will feel like it was not worth sitting and watching it that long. But whatever, at least I have that other position still running. Oh, that's too bad. We got so close to that half order. I just lost faith being we shot up so fast there. We still might hit it, but I just want to relax. There it is. So the rest of that scalp is stopped out. So that was a very small profit, but whatever. Didn't lose at least. Yeah, higher high signal now. I'm still hoping we reverse and go to the downside because if we break up much past this, I'm going to end up closing most of my short position too. My running short position. If we break 62,777, I'll probably close half the remainder of that and just leave a quarter running. So like I said, if we break this resistance here, I mean, we could just take off. I don't necessarily think we'll take off to, all-time highs or anything like that. But even if we just come up to the top of this range or something like that, wouldn't be all too crazy. But we still have resistance. So it's the 5 minute looking like. This unfortunately isn't a lower low here. So I don't want to pull a fib from here either. So here's another thing I guess we could watch for on the 5-minute. We're not going to watch for it here because, I mean, we just saw how long that took to play out, and I don't want to sit here for several hours yet, but I am going to be watching for this. Since we have this lower low, new lower low, even though there isn't a lower high signal printed here, that is the lower high. That would be between these two, right? Highest point between the two. So if we do end up just blasting through this resistance here, then I'll be eyeing up that level, seeing what kind of a reaction we get there. Since that's the 5-minute, I would actually zoom into the 1-minute, and that's where I would start to look for some sort of a loss of a higher low structure. So like if we just end up kind of laddering up, staircasing up, and then we get up to this level, and then we end up losing that structure, that's where I'd be interested in taking some sort of a new short on something like that. Adding another short position. Hopefully that makes sense. A lot of what ifs between now and then. Obviously doesn't have to happen. That's just judging by how the 5-minute looks. That's kind of where the resistance starts for this channel up here, in my opinion. So really anywhere in this range is fair game to end up starting to struggle with resistance. If we blast right through that, then I'd be looking for more so like a full swing, basically from where we topped out today, and looking for something like that. See if on the 1-minute we ended up getting same thing, right? If we just staircase up and then we just set a series of higher highs, higher lows, and then we end up losing a higher low, that's where I would once again be looking to start shorting the 1-minute in that case. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, I'm bummed out. We got so close to my my partial take profit there. I mean, I'm still glad that I closed half of it early, but yeah, it could have been a lot juicier had it just gone one little extra push there. It's never quite hit the target. But yeah, as for now, I mean, we're still technically at this resistance. It's a different setup, right? But because being that we had this lower high signal, we got a higher high signal, and we actually broke above this level. I don't know if I would want to take a new short at something like this. I mean, you'd have nice tight invalidation just above this level here, but it's looking like there's some strength there for a short-term reversal potentially here. But still bearish. Like I said, still holding on to most of my short position, my earlier short position, but I'm just not ready to add another scalp position at this point. So that being said, guys, I think that's about, holy smokes, that's about all I wanted to go over, I think. Yeah, hopefully you guys found this video helpful, interesting, useful, educational, hopefully in some sort of way. If you did appreciate this stream, I'm gonna do them again. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll do one tomorrow or the next day. Planning to do another one relatively soon in the next couple days. I wonder if we'll see a rejection here. Yeah, either way. Yeah, that's about all I wanted to go over. So hopefully you found this stream useful. Hopefully you like the way I, just looking at structure, just watching the 1-minute, explaining it as it comes, how I'm using the indicators, all that sort of stuff. If these MDX algo indicators do interest you, there's a link down below that gives an additional 10% discount on top of current promotions. Other than that, like I said, if you appreciate this, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And thank you so much for being here with me, you guys. Hopefully we get some more volatility going on this week, because I would love to come do another stream, and hopefully it doesn't flatline like that for so long. But yeah, with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.